August, 1986, Ephraim Che, a subsistence farmer with 4 children, heard a rumbling sound like a rockslide and a strange white mist from Nyos, a crater lake in northwest Cameroon. That night, he went to bed early because he was feeling ill, while Halima Souli, a cowherd with her 4 children, also heard the rumbling. To her the rumbling sounded like the shouting of many voices, and a great wind roared through her family's small compound of thatched huts. Next day morning, Ephraim Che woke up and heads downhill to a lake, where the lake's only outlet, a waterfall. But to his surprise it was uncharacteristically dry. Then he looked at the lake only to discover the entire lake has been turned into red color. Then he notices the silence and the absence of the usual morning chorus of songbirds and insects in the surrounding forests. Frightened, he runs along the banks of lake, hearing shrieking from Halima Souli, who has torn off her clothing in grief and horror. She questions why the people are lying there and why they won't move again. Shocked, Che looked where she was pointing and found the bodies of Souli's children, her 31 family members, and their 400 cattle dead. This is the story of Lake Nyos disaster. Lake Nyos is a crater lake in Cameroon's northwest region, roughly 315 kilometers or 196 miles northwest of the country's capital, Yaoundé. Nestled along the Cameroon line of volcanic activity, Nyos is a deep lake high on the side of an inactive volcano in the Oku volcanic plain. Lake waters are impounded by a volcanic dam. Villages in the vicinity of the lake include Cha, Nyos, Munji, Jingbi, and Subam. And tens of thousands of people live in these villages. Although Lake Nyos is located inside an extinct volcano, beneath it, magma continuously flows. Directly beneath the lake, around 80 kilometers, is a reservoir of magma that spews out gases, including carbon dioxide, which leaks into the water, changing it into carbonic acid. And therefore prone to eruptions. And in very rare cases, the dissolved carbon dioxide can suddenly erupt from deep lake waters, forming a gas cloud capable of asphyxiating wildlife, livestock, and humans. Something that produced a loud, thunderous noise, which everyone on the village heard on August 21, 1986, caused the trapped carbon dioxide to burst. Massive amounts of CO2 emerged over Lake Nyos. Because CO2 is denser than oxygen, Lower Nyos and other nearby villages were purged as the toxic cloud of CO2 rolled downhill. The carbon dioxide from Lake Nyos had suffocated them all. All of the villagers had heard a distinct boom noise the previous evening, which sounded like thunder. Only one time. The loud noise didn't seem to worry anyone. However, they were unaware that tragedy had arrived in the village. The eruption triggered the sudden release of about 100,000 to 300,000 tons of carbon dioxide, CO2. The gas cloud initially rose at nearly 100 kilometers per hour and then, being heavier than air, descended onto nearby villages, suffocating people and livestock within 25 kilometers of the lake. The incident involved the release of CO2, possibly alongside other volcanic gases like sulfur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide, as some survivors reported a smell of gunpowder or rotten eggs. However, CO2 was the only gas detected in lake water samples, indicating that it was the predominant gas and the main cause of the incident. At Lake Nyos, about 1,800 people and 3,500 livestock lost their lives in total, and there was a horizon of dead animals lying everywhere. No noises were coming from nearby forest, because every animal being dead due to the gas clouds. Numerous victims were discovered exactly where they would have been at 9 o'clock at night, indicating that they had passed away instantly. Corpses were piled in beds and around doorways, close to cooking fires. After lying unconscious for more than a day, some people eventually woke up, discovered their family members were dead, and in grief they took their own lives. Following the eruption, many survivors were treated at Yaoundé, the capital, and initially believed that sulfur-based gas poisoning had occurred, leading to burning pains, coughing, and asphyxiation. Interviews and pathologic studies showed that victims lost consciousness rapidly and died from CO2 asphyxiation. Non-lethal CO2 can produce sensory hallucinations, and skin lesions on survivors were pressure sores or heat exposure. No evidence of chemical burns or flash burns from exposure to hot gases was found. The news of Nyos disaster spread worldwide, prompting scientists to gather in Nyos, including volcanologists, pathologists, geologists, and chemists. George Kling, a limnologist, was making his second visit to the remote location. Earlier year, he had sampled Nyos waters from the shore due to lack of access to a boat, as the shallow water had yielded no hints of the dangerous gas in the depths. The Cameroon military had buried human victims in mass graves, and the thousands of dead cattle. Heavy rains worsened the already bad situation. Scientists used inflatable dinghies to Nyos to collect water samples and investigate clues. Some assumed an underwater volcano had erupted, while others assumed unknown natural hazard. Scientists would piece together the Nyos narrative over the next few weeks and months. The carbon dioxide from previous volcanic activity and plus current activity saturated the lake slowly over the years. Underwater springs appear to carry the gas upward and into the deep lake bottom water, regardless of its source. The gas builds up there under the pressure of the lake water above. This is similar to how a soda bottle lid prevents soda from fizzing by preventing CO2 from clumping together. Scientists believe that boulders crashing into a lake, a landslide, may have caused the explosion. Water saturated with carbon dioxide was displaced upward, causing dissolved carbon dioxide bubbles to form and attracting more gas-laden water. The explosion led to the formation of iron-rich water, which oxidized at the surface and turned the lake red. The lake's explosion was like a shaken soda bottle, causing significant damage to the surrounding ecosystem and killing thousands of people and animals in the surrounding villages. Cameroonian mythology suggests that the lake around Nyos has long been associated with destruction, with lakes being considered homes of ancestors and spirits, and sometimes a source of death. Some ethnic groups, such as the Bafman, have erected houses near lakes on high ground as a defense against disaster. However, around 60 years ago, other groups began moving into the area, such as the Fulani, who settled on Nyos lower slopes. By the 1980s, the population near the lake was several thousand and growing rapidly, with some Bafman even relocating. A similar phenomenon, though on a smaller scale, occurred at Monoun, a bone-shaped crater lake about 60 miles south of Nyos, on August 15, 1984, 2 years prior to the catastrophe at Nyos. Monoun is surrounded by farmland and has a road running alongside it. It is situated in a densely populated area. A villager was riding north toward the town of Njindown just before daybreak when he noticed a pickup truck parked along the road and near Louis Correap, a local Catholic priest's lifeless body next to the vehicle. After that, he came across another corpse, a man's body still perched atop a broken-down motorcycle. He walked on foot after becoming too weak to continue on his bike. He walked by several dead people inside stranded cars and a herd of dead animals. There were 37 people who were on that narrow road at the time perished. Rumors about the disaster arose instantaneously. Some said that plotters attempting to mount a coup or perhaps the government had carried out a chemical test. The researchers explored a number of options, including blasting bombs to release the carbon dioxide, pouring large amounts of lime into the lake to neutralize the gas, and excavating tunnels in the bottom to remove the gas-filled waters. Ultimately, they decided on a low-tech solution, a conduit that would be run from the lake's deepest water layer to the surface and gradually release the gas so that it would spread swiftly and safely into the atmosphere. Scientists are making frequent trips to Cameroon to study Nyos and Monoun lakes and ensure their safety for future visitors. Testing of lake depths reveals that carbon dioxide accumulation is increasing rapidly. Researchers predict that Monoun and Nyos layers could become saturated with carbon dioxide, and either lake could explode at any time. These days, the lake's eroding natural wall is another reason for concern. This natural levee might collapse due to a geological earthquake, causing water to flood downstream communities all the way into Nigeria and releasing significant volumes of carbon dioxide. So that's all we got about Lake Nyos disaster, and thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos, hit the subscribe button, and if you have something to say, please leave a comment.